Hello and welcome to this special episode on the future of API use and algo trading in India. I'm your host, Sandeep Rao, and today we are diving into a space that is rapidly evolving as we speak, and that is API-related regulations for retail traders. For a long time, the Kite API has been the gateway for anyone looking to move beyond manual clicks on a screen and into the world of automated, rules-based trading. As we head towards April 2026, the rules of engagement are changing. We are moving from a flexible Wild West to a highly structured and regulated environment. Joining me today to help make sense of all this is Nikhil, better known to many in the community as Matti. And as someone who has dealt with algo regulations a lot, Matti is here to break down exactly what these regulations look like today and how Zerodha is interpreting the current mandate. And most importantly, what is about to change as we hit the April deadline. Do note that this is an evolving space. What we discuss today is the reality on the ground right now. However, with the changing regulations, things can change a bit. At the moment, we want to ensure you stay updated and build your systems in a compliant manner. And we'll make sure we keep you posted as things evolve. With that context, let's get started. As I always do, let me start with my understanding of what exactly is an API. I'd like to think of a broker as being a restaurant. The usual experience where a waiter or captain brings you a menu and takes your order and goes to the kitchen to convey it. And that is similar to placing trades through something like Zerodha Kite trading platform or the mobile app. You interact with an interface, make your selection, and your selection gets conveyed to the order management system and then to the exchange. But imagine that this restaurant also has a small window at the back of the kitchen. If you know what you're doing, you can walk straight up to that window and place your order directly by specifying the code for the dishes. No waiter involved. That's what an API is like. You are bypassing the front-end interface and sending your order directly to the broker system, the order management system, without any intermediaries. So instead of clicking buttons on a screen, you are programmatically telling the system or the kitchen what exactly to do. So would you say that's a fair description, Matti?
Yes, that's a really good analogy, and that's what we generally use to explain APIs to anybody new to the field.
Matti, let me start with this question. Where did it all start? Can you give me a bit of a historical context on this regulation?
So, in 2025, SEBI released a circular that defined a framework for safe participation of retail traders in algo trading. Now, the background to this is APIs were available since before 2025, right? But there was no explicit regulation that allowed brokers to offer or not offer APIs. And the APIs themselves were not regulated, right? So, for example, a trading platform is very heavily regulated. Brokers are told how the trading platform should operate. We have to audit our platform before we ever offer it to our customers and get it approved by the exchanges. APIs did not have this. So now SEBI realized that the problem that this had created was there were a lot of market participants that were not. Again, these are not regulated entities, right? There are a lot of people who are selling promises to customers saying, you use this algo that I have built, this strategy that I have built, and you will get this much return, guaranteed returns, which was a concern for SEBI.
So this was something brought up way back in 22, right? Or 23 sometime.
22 and 23 is when the concerns around promises of strategy vendors was something that came onto SEBI's radar. 25 is when the regulation actually was published.
Got it.
There have been instances in the past where brokers have been questioned for the acts of vendors. The broker's defense mostly here was we didn't know what the customer was doing, right? That was not a good enough response for SEBI. So SEBI said, okay, fine. Like if you have problems with how these platforms are operating, we'll bring in a framework that will solve this. So over the second half of 2024, there was a massive consultative process between brokers, exchanges, and SEBI, and we formulated the framework, right? This was done with consultation with the exchanges and with the brokers. Of course, not everything the brokers wanted was in the circular, but that is natural, like a broker will always want to make their life as easy as possible. The regulator has several other concerns, and their primary mandate is investor safeguarding, right? So they would have thought of adding a few more restrictions than what we wanted, but here we are. So.
Got it. So essentially you're saying there was a phase in the market where there were unregulated players who were offering, returns, or they were kind of advertising strategies which were with higher returns and so on. And to curb that was a trigger to bring whole, this regulation in place.
Yes.
Got it. If we have to talk about this change which is going to happen from 1st of April, was there anything else which was done prior to this? Was there any other regulatory changes which came in before that?
No. So this itself, the framework went live in April of 2025. And the modality, the actual operation with the tagging of API orders was supposed to start in August.
Okay.
August was the deadline given to brokers. That was then extended to October and now to April. Primarily because it takes time for brokers to change their systems to make all of this work, right? It was a lot of work for us to make changes to our systems, get our vendors, OMS, RMS vendors to make changes to their systems and then test everything. So it took longer than expected. So we're now going live on April 1st, 2025.
Got it. So Mati, can you tell me what's going to change from 1st of April onwards for people who are using APIs?
Yeah. So from the 1st of April, the most fundamental change on the order level is the exchange now recognizes API orders separately, right? Brokers have been allowed to, we've been given a tag to classify API orders. API orders are now being divided into two very broad categories. Ones that place orders at a rate of more than 10 orders per second, and ones that place orders at less than 10 orders per second. Now, most retail users place fewer than 10 orders per second, and they do not need any specific approvals for these strategies. However, they'll need a static IP to place their orders from. Even if you're placing more than 10 orders per second, you'll still need a static IP, but your strategy itself has to be registered with the exchange. You'll have to approach your broker. You have to tell your broker, I want to get this strategy registered, and then the broker will interact with the exchanges and get all the audits done that are required for this. There will be a cost involved for the customer for doing all of this, right? Because there's an auditor's cost involved. Once you have decided which strategy you want, whether it's an approved strategy where you are placing more than 10 orders per second, or whether you're doing a regular retail strategy that is less than 10 orders per second, you have to look at what else the circular prescribes. So the circular says one static IP, that's already done. The second thing that the circular prescribes is you are no longer allowed to use market orders. You have to use market orders with market protection. So what does market protection actually mean? Whenever you place a market order, whatever is the best bid or offer is what is used to fill your order, right?
Correct.
However, the best bid or offer may be very far away from the last traded price, the LTP. You add a parameter within the order that says that place this order as a market order, but within X% range of the last traded price. So if the bid that is available on the market depth is further away than the percentage that you've set as market protection, then your order gets converted into limit order automatically and waits for the market price to get there for the order to be filled. This is to ensure that market orders don't randomly cause impact costs for customers, right? Because most customers would be using the LTP as the trigger for placing orders. This is not a new thing, by the way. So for algos, market orders have been disallowed for a very long time. Until now, retail algos was not a specific category. Algos were only specifically recognized by exchanges for non-retail institutional players. Now that they recognize retail algos formally, this check now comes into play. And so for Zerodha customers, it's just adding a market protection parameter. And yeah, that's about it. These are the changes that people will have to look at.
Got it.
Outside of that, there's nothing else that is changing. The APIs remain the same. The user can send the orders in the same fashion. It's just that our validations have increased.
I'm going to ask a very basic question, Mati. What is a static IP and how does it help this process?
Let's start with what an IP address is, right? An IP address is the address that your computer shows other computers on the internet. Now, whenever you connect to your broker from your home computer, we see the IP address that your ISP has allotted to you. ISPs, in the default mode, will allot a dynamic IP address, which means every time there's a change in a network, your IP address gets refreshed and you will report a new IP address. This is a standard practice across most internet services across the world, not just in India. However, static IP is where the IP does not change at all. It's a fixed address that points directly to you. You have to own this. So you either have to purchase this from your ISP or from a cloud service provider like AWS or from a VPS or a VPC service provider. And you'll have to configure that on your API account.
So at the moment, is there a way one could buy this through the Kite developer account, or one has to do it outside of it?
Now, this is something one has to do outside of it because your IP address is not managed by Kite.
Got it.
Right? It is either managed by your ISP if you're doing this from a home computer, or if you're using the cloud, then this is managed by your cloud service provider like AWS.
And it comes at a cost, I understand.
Very minor cost, but yes, there is a cost attached to it. Now, you can get this for as little as 1,500 rupees a year. However, based on what exactly you're looking for, if it's just a static IP or if there's more services bundled with it, the cost may vary.
So I had a related question, Mati. So you said you could buy the static IP from a broadband service provider. So let's say I'm at home, my broadband service provider is Airtel, and I've got a static IP. So does it mean every time my orders go to Zerodha through the API, it has to go through my home Wi-Fi?
Yes. That is exactly what it means. You will be locked down to wherever you are located if you're using the ISP route.
Okay.
If you use something like a VPS, if you use something like AWS, then you can be wherever because the static IP itself is on the cloud.
Is on the cloud. Got it. That helps. I have another related question about static IP. Now, many of the users may have multiple brokers.
Right.
Can they use the same static IP across different brokers?
Absolutely. There's no problems there at all. The only validation is on a broker level. So within one broker's infrastructure, the IP cannot be shared by multiple clients. The regulation does not allow for this. However, across brokers, you can use the same static IP.
I remember reading in one of the emails which came recently that for family members, we can have a common static IP. Now, but where exactly on the developer account can one define who are the family members so that that part is structured?
So you don't have to declare who your family members are. You just have to ensure that you only use your family members' accounts from the same developer account. On Kite Connect, what we're doing is we'll allow you to add a static IP, one static IP as the primary and one secondary static IP for backup purposes on the profile of your Kite Connect account. Now, your Kite Connect account can create multiple API keys, multiple apps, right? So each app here will use the same IP that is attached to this Kite Connect account. All you have to ensure is you only enter your family members' accounts with these API keys. You do not share this Kite Connect account with people outside of your family.
Got it. Just to keep things simple and clear, I'm going to throw a few use cases so that people who are listening to us can understand and help me with what they have to do.
Yeah.
So let's assume I'm a solo trader and I have a code running on the cloud on AWS or DigitalOcean or somewhere. What do I have to do starting or before 1st of April?
You need to know the IP for your AWS or DigitalOcean instance. Enter that on your Kite Connect account. Review your strategy to see it's not placing more than 10 orders per second because anything over 10 orders per second gets rejected. So that is one thing. Review your strategy for market orders. Ensure you use the market protection field. Like we've said in our email also, all you have to ensure is that the market protection value is not 0. Anything beyond that works. And yeah, that's about it. That's all you have to do.
What if my code is running from my laptop?
The same rules apply, but the difference is now if you're using your laptop, you would either be using a static IP provided by your ISP or a VPS or a VPC, right? So when it comes to a VPS or a VPC, it is far more flexible. You can carry your laptop around anywhere, and the IP address always works, right? It's like a VPN. However, if you are using your ISP provided static IP, then you will be always required to keep your laptop at home and figure out ways to access it from wherever you are.
Got it. Talking about family accounts or HUF accounts, where there are a few family members and one person who's managing the account for other family members, how does the developer account work in that context?
It'll be one single developer account that the family can utilize, and they can create multiple API keys for each individual family account. Let's say I want to manage my account, my mother's account, and my HUF account, right? I'll create one single developer account and 3 API keys. All 3 API keys will be running on the same static IP and will run for 3 different Zerodha accounts. One for the HUF, one for my mother, and one for myself.
Okay.
And that's just what I'll have to do. One thing I can also tell people is it's not mandatory that family accounts share an IP address.
Okay.
So the same family can have multiple Kite Connect accounts and have separate API keys with separate IP addresses. That is also completely fine. The only requirement is that IP addresses not be shared among non-family members.
Got it.
Among family members, there is an allowance of sharing, but it is not mandatory.
Got it. Thanks. Now, while we are talking about family accounts, just double checking if any of this affects manually placing order through the Kite web app or through mobile phone or across multiple accounts.
Not at all. So your front ends of Kite Web, Kite Mobile, etc. are completely separated from this. While they're all sending orders to the same place, you don't have to worry about what happens if you place a manual order versus an API order. Your API orders are treated separately. The only thing that you have to ensure is that you know what you're doing. If you're placing a manual order, it may interfere with your algo. So that is something you may have to keep in mind. Outside of that, there's no problem.
This is more about people who are not using API. They have nothing to do with this, right? I mean, if I'm not a user of API, nothing changes for me.
Nothing changes at all.
Got it. So while we're talking about APIs and algos, I have a question, Bhakti. Is Zerodha planning some kind of a no-code solution for enthusiastic traders who want to use, algos, but want to be slightly more sophisticated than placing just manual orders?
This has been on our to-do list for a very long time now. I can't promise anything, but eventually we'll definitely want to do something like this, have a solution for people. Until now, basically, we've not put any engineering effort into this in the past because there weren't clear regulations, right? Like automation of trades was not allowed for retail. However, now that this is allowed, this is definitely something that's on the cards.
Are there any timelines?
No, not yet. We're still exploring how we do this. So we don't have a timeline right now.
Sure. So one last question. How do you see this whole algo space evolving now that the regulations are getting clearer?
See, now that the regulations are getting clearer, for me, I think the one is adoption because brokers will be able to talk about this more freely. So adoption will probably increase. That's what I'm bullish on. We see that there will be a cleanup of the ecosystem. People will not be able to promise returns. Everyone who is running strategies will have to do so within the regulatory framework now. And SEBI is a very consultative body. So there will be changes with time that SEBI will consult with the industry and with investors over time. They collect feedback in different ways. SEBI may not directly reach out to investors, but they do collect feedback, and hopefully things get easier with time and not tougher. You're also someone who does use APIs and does algo trading. So do you see anything that...
Well, I've been using Kite since it came into existence, and I think Kite was one of the first APIs. Zerodha was one of the first brokers to have an API.
In India, yes.
In India, yes, right? So my view is this is a great move on, as far as SEBI is concerned, because people were anyways using, though the in terms of percentage, the number is small, but serious traders who have systematic strategies, they have been using. So now I think with the regulations coming in, it's only going to get better. And there's another aspect which I am very positive about is regulatory or intermediaries would be able to offer strategies which with things like Parva, which is coming in, where the strategies outcomes can be evaluated and then publicized, if at all. So those are, I think, all good things which are happening and which would be based on this regulation. So all in all, I am very positive.
Right, same here. Even I'm very bullish about the space. Let's see where this takes us.
That's pretty much about the changes regarding the usage of API, which would be applicable from 1st of April 2026. I want to clarify again that these updates apply exclusively to orders placed via API. If you're placing trades manually through Kite web or mobile app, these changes do not affect you in any way. Also, since this is a new change for both brokers and traders, do expect some teething troubles as the systems calibrate. However, in the larger scheme of things, I think regulating API use and formalizing algorithmic trading is a significant positive for the entire ecosystem. As I said earlier, as a trader, I think execution plays such an important role in long-term trading success, and these measures ensure a more stable and professional environment for all participants. Lastly, if you need any assistance specifically for your account, please create a support ticket instead of posting questions in the comments. This allows our team to address your account-specific concerns directly and efficiently. Once again, thank you, Matti, and thank you all, and see you soon again.